really like said last night. Ultimately, that was a good win to pull that out, and our resiliency showed up. We found a way to do what we needed to do. I go back to what I said last night. Really starting with Fox's punt down there at the 11, Dorsey's, you know. Down there covering his rear off, and down to the 11, defense has to take a stand. They do. We get a TFL, 2nd and 12, then they jump off sides, 2nd 17, and really gets us the stop there. So, and then the offense really closed it out. At that point, you're talking about 17 plays, 110 yards, 9 points, really, and no looking back. So it was a good job when we needed it. Those guys closed it out. David Montgomery put that game on his shoulders, and he really willed that to happen. It was impressive, and he's a stud, like I said last night. Number of guys, played pretty good. Him, obviously J-Mo. It was good to see J-Mo have some explosives there, make some plays, and he keeps getting better. And so now he's got to get a little bit better this week, like all of us do. But that was good to see, man. He definitely helped us win that game. Defensively, Alex was all over the field. I thought Hutch and Davenport on the perimeter, man, they really, all day long, were a force. And Kirby played a pretty good game. That was a big play right before halftime, but overall it was pretty good by him. Special teams, Fox, as we talked about, we won the field position battle, against this team, and a lot of that is on both sides, punt return. But Fox had a huge game for us. Dorsey again talking about it as a gunner. So a lot of good things. A lot of things we got to clean up. Too many 3 and outs on offense. We took them out of their game, we felt like, defensively, forced them into more of a quick game, and, which means you got to go the long way. And when you run, almost 80 plays and you only give up 20 points, that's pretty good. It's a good start. So, it's a good win.
Secondary, we talk about many areas. How would you assess them as a whole? I know that was a part that y'all really focused on this offseason, but what do you see from the secondary in particular?
Yeah, well, look, it's we got a lot of room to grow, but yet, man, there was things in that game I was really proud of on the back end. It was good to see Carlton get in there, and man, it was a huge 4th down stop that he had on the perimeter, but he's squeezing the run game. I just, was it his best game? No, but he did a lot of good things. TA, it's very evident it's not too big for him. He's got a lot to clean up, but yet, man, it was very promising. I mean, he was in stride. He showed up for us, and he's only going to get better and better. It was good to see. And BB, I already talked about Kirby. I thought Kirby did a good job, and BB, made a lot of plays. But then, one of the first things he says when he's come back in the locker room, he's like, "I won't miss those tackles anymore," and. So he knows it, and he's really one of our best tacklers in general. He's got a first game under his belt. But all in all, man, just cleaning up some of the communication. But I thought it was promising where our D-backs are at.
Something we didn't ask you about last night, but there was a lot of footing issues. CD slipped on 2 critical plays. Amon-Ra tripped on the route that almost was picked if he didn't, salvage that with a tip pass. Was there anything to the turf last night that you guys need to adjust to as the season progresses?
Not really, not that I know of. And as far as I know, they haven't done anything else to it. So, no, I think we'll be good. Some of it is just getting used to playing back on that turf again, Now, they had problems, too. I think at times they tripped a little bit. But it's the same turf we've had, so we should be good.
Just after watching the film, what more would you have liked to do to get, I don't know if it matters much since you won, but to get Amon-Ra involved, and since it is a copycat league, is that something that you have to be, how prepared do you have to be for other teams doing the exact same thing?
Yeah, I mean, we tried. You know, we did. We called his number quite a few times. It felt like for whatever reason, either coverage took it away or something like that happens on the inside slant. Man, he kind of trips on it. There was just these things that. It just kind of was one of those games. But he's constantly somebody we think about. I mean, that doesn't go away. And certainly we want to get him targeted more than what showed yesterday. I mean, that's the obvious. I mean, he's a catalyst for us, no different than we talked about, like David in the run game. I mean, Saint's one of our guys. So, we'll but as far as, teams looking at that, I'm not worried about that. We'll find a way,
On that pass, just to follow on that. Was he intended just to break that up? I mean, that was a huge play if it was, because that might have been a
Yeah, I didn't ask him directly, but I would be willing to bet you anything. Absolutely, it was, because he's a smart player. He knew he wasn't going to get to it, so he better knock it down. That's pretty headsy by him.
Just seeing the slight level of rust that you saw in the first couple games that you watched.
First level what?
Of rust that you saw in the games that you watched
Rust.
earlier. Yeah,
I got you.
And then with your team, does that maybe potentially open up your mind to maybe play starters a little bit in the preseason in the future?
No. I mean, listen, there's always going to be an element of, because even then, what, you're going to play them 20 plays? I mean, I would rather go against ourselves and run 60, which is what we did those last 2 weeks. We scrimmaged each other going 60 plays. So no, I'm not, especially when you win the game. I feel good with where we're at. And, I said it last night, man, do I like that we were not that clean? No, it doesn't. I don't feel great about that. But I'm not upset with the win either. So we will clean it up. Man, like I told the team, all we have to worry about is getting a little bit better next week.
You had a tough loss, overtime loss against Seattle at the beginning of last year. How much of a mental boost is it early on in the year to play that kind of game and to be the team that comes out ahead?
Well, look, anytime you play an overtime game, and it's the first one. It's the first one you put a lot of significant plays on the body. It's a lot of intensity, a lot of volume. But more importantly, man, there's an emotional element that goes into that. And, you don't win that. That's, it's kind of a gut punch for a little bit. So that was big to be able to pull that one out. And, no, we'd rather close that out before we got there, but we found a way.
You said the D-line was going to be kind of a catalyst for what you guys do defensively. Just curious, after watching the tape, what you thought of those guys up front. And then maybe the second question, Dad, is DJ still maybe on task for this week to add to that group week 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan was ultimately, if we couldn't get DJ up last week, or just what we didn't feel quite there, that, man, Tampa was always the target, and so, providing there's no setbacks, we'd like to get him going this week. He looked pretty good in practice, and as far as the D-line in general, yeah, those guys, just about every one of them had a winning performance, up front, and I thought they played big. I thought they played physical, and we feel like we have a good defensive line. And I know that's game one, but, just since spring and training camp and seeing where we're at, it's the right mix. It's the right balance of length, power, size, aggression. And that's just game one. We got so much room to grow in there too. That's what's exciting.
Some of this stuff is going to be matchup based, obviously, but Derek played a really heavy workload last night. Look, you've talked about his maturation last year, but you guys are doing some different stuff with him this year, a lot more down on the line of scrimmage. So where have you seen a different level of growth that you want to try him in these new roles, and it's important to keep him on the field at that kind of level?
Yeah, well, it's a credit to him and Shep, really getting him to this point. But I think, first of all, mentally he has grown so much with understanding our defense and then what offenses are trying to do, man, conceptually. So that's where it starts. But then physically, his ability he can rush off the edge. He can set an edge in the run game. He's also a stack backer. He's just seeing things so much faster, And so his the mental side of the game has grown so much, and physically he really has all the tools. I mean, he's a run and hit linebacker that can play on the edge. He gives us a lot of flexibility, and as you could see last night, that flexibility showed up. I mean, we kept him on the field, and I mean, he essentially played like our nickel, and and I felt like we made that team one-dimensional. I thought AG put together a heck of a plan, and that was kind of part of it for this game.
Aleem said he couldn't sleep last night. He was up late watching Reba after he was watching the film. Just curious how you process the emotions and the come down and stuff like that after a win like that.
He said he was what?
He was up late watching Reba.
Yeah, I got you. Look, it's hard to sleep anyway after a game, but especially when, you get home at whatever that is, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I don't know. It's hard, because your mind's racing and you're watching tape, you're thinking about it, and you're, just all the different plays, what you could have done, what you want to do, what went right, what went wrong. So I can imagine, I remember that as a player, so I can understand what Mac's talking about. It's just you go through it, and I think that's what's hard about a night game, It is, because it's impossible to sleep, I think. Even as tired as you are, it's just hard. The mind won't go to sleep.
What was the progression in overtime on that drive? Was it leading into the overtime period when you won the toss? Was it a couple plays in where you and Ben are talking and saying, just keep pounding it, just keep pounding it? At what point did you realize that was going to win you the game?
Well, I think I thought Ben did a heck of a job closing that game out. But I think the first run Demo had was really, it was, you just felt like he's about to take this game over. That first one, he took off, and we got good movement up front, and you could just see the surge, and you could feel number 5, and it felt like we were going to be able to break through, and we were. Okay.